Hello, I'm Jeff Sachs, professor at Columbia University, and I want to congratulate Slovo de pranice for taking on the lies and the propaganda of the mainstream media. They are nonstop. Uh, my government in the United States works by narrative, not by truth. We say that we know a government official is lying when his mouth is moving because the lies are basically nonstop. In a recent interview that I did for a Berlin newspaper, I reflected on nine big lies that are the fare of the mainstream media. And I thought I would share that list with you just as an example of how pervasive the falsehoods are. So the first is to remember it's the United States, not Iran, that killed nuclear diplomacy. There was already an agreement back in 2015 to monitor and to verify the end of any potential nuclear weapons program in Iran in exchange for ending U.S. sanctions. And it was Trump that walked away from that, not Iran. But we all hear the drumbeat against Iran every day right now. Second, it was the US and Germany that promised very clearly, very explicitly, and very repeatedly to the Soviet Union and Russia that NATO would not enlarge eastward. And then, of course, as soon as the Soviet Union ended in December 1991, the US cheated and it began the waves of enlargement. This was a willful cheating on a very clear commitment, and it eventually led to the war in Ukraine. My third point was that Europe knew clearly as of 2008, when the US was pressing for a public NATO commitment to enlarge to Ukraine and to Georgia, that this was very provocative and very dangerous. And yet European leaders fell into line with the United States and went along with it. But we don't hear from the mainstream media in Europe that the European leaders already knew in 2008 that NATO enlargement was dangerous. Fourth point not discussed in the media, the United States obviously conspired to overthrow the government of Ukraine President Viktor Yanukovych in February 2014, thereby instigating the start of the Ukraine war, which is now in its 11th year. We don't hear from the mainstream media about the U.S. direct complicity in a violent coup in Ukraine, which started this war. Fifth point, it was the EU and the U.S. That abandoned the responsibility to defend the Minsk II agreement that could have prevented the escalation of the war in Ukraine. Minsk II was designed to bring peace to Ukraine, not by annexation of territory by Russia, but by autonomy for ethnic Russian regions in the Donbass. But Europe reneged on its responsibility to defend the agreement. Sixth point, if anyone needs to be in on the secret, the United States blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Oh, sure, U.S. officials tried to blame it on Russia. Really a laugh if it weren't so pathetic. But again, the mainstream media wouldn't go after the story. Seven, the United States and UK stopped Ukraine from signing a peace agreement with Russia in April 2022. There was the Istanbul process. An agreement was almost in reach. And the US and UK swooped in and told the Ukrainians, no, 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 don't sign, fight on. And so the war continues. And the story of the US interdiction of the peace process doesn't get told. Eight, Israel and the United States, as complicit partner, are committing a genocide in Gaza. This is before our eyes. This is recorded every day by TikTok. But oh, could European media say it? No, no. Israel has the right of self-defense, Israel this, Israel that, not that Israel's committing a genocide, which we should hear about and stop. And my ninth point is that Israel and the U.S. in the attack on Iran are bringing the world closer to nuclear war in a flagrant and blatant and vulgar violation of the UN Charter. So these are 9 stories that are very big, that go to the core of the rising violence, conflict, and instability in the world, and that are not told by the mainstream media. Well, I know that it is your mission in Slovo do pranice to get to the bottom of this, to expose the truth, and I really congratulate you on this initiative and hope that at any time I can be helpful as you proceed. Thank you so much for letting me share these brief remarks with you.